Hey Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. The Giants take on the Saints this weekend in New Orleans, and we've got injury reports, wide receiver updates, and more to discuss. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Here's the injury report from Wednesday. There were 4 players who did not participate in practice. One of them was Dexter Lawrence. He's dealing with an illness, but he should be good to go. Nothing to worry about. Should be back at practice on Thursday without issue. Safety Tyler Nubin is dealing with a groin injury. That is not great because we don't have a lot of depth at safety on this team. And if Tyler Nubin is not good to go, I think we are in a little bit of trouble on Sunday. So we'll keep watching that and I'll keep you guys updated. Next up is running back Tyrone Tracy, who's dealing with a dislocated shoulder. Dable said he's getting better every day, so I don't think he's going to be ready this week, but I think there's a chance that we see him versus the Broncos. I just think because the Eagles next week is a short week that it's very unlikely that we see him. So I think we're probably targeting the Broncos game. Maybe we'll get lucky and he's ready to go against the Eagles. If the Eagles was a Sunday game, I would say we'll see him then, but because it's Thursday, I just don't think so. Next up is Greg Van Roten, who did not practice on Wednesday, but Dable said it was just a typical vet's day off, nothing to worry about. He'll be back at it on Thursday. There were a few players who were limited on Wednesday. Safety Dane Belton, who's dealing with a shoulder, but he was limited, so he should be fine. DJ Davidson is dealing with the foot, same thing. Chauncey Golston is dealing with an ankle. Now, the good news about Chauncey Golston is that he's limited at practice this week. Last week, he went back and forth between did not practice and limited, and ultimately did not play on Sunday. So I think it's looking better that we are going to see Chauncey Golston on Sunday. They did bring Tomon Fox back to the practice squad, so, we'll keep seeing how that goes for the rest of the week. If Chauncey Golston is not ready to go, then we are going to see that elevation again for Tomon Fox. Safety Javon Holland, who came out of the game for, I believe it was 8 snaps on Sunday due to a neck injury, was limited because of that same neck injury, but again, should be fine for Sunday. JMS is dealing with an ankle, and Nacho is dealing with a foot. Nacho being back on the limited report is also good because he has not played in the last couple weeks due to this foot injury. But again, with him being limited on Wednesday, that is a good sign that he will be good to go for Sunday. And I think having Nacho back is definitely going to help against the run, even though Darius Alexander has been getting more increased snaps over the last 2 weeks and he's looked pretty good, which is exciting. It'll just be great to have someone like Nacho back out there. Obviously, a veteran in the league, was brought back for a reason and is pretty good against the run. So lastly, we had 3 players who were listed as full participants: Jackson Dart with a hamstring, Scat with a knee, and Russ with an ankle. So nothing to worry about with those 3 guys. I know a lot of us came out of Sunday's game a little worried about Jackson Dart with this hamstring injury, but it sounds like he is good to go and nothing to worry about for Sunday. The one thing I will be watching for is to see if they limit any of the design quarterback runs because of that, although one of the things that I both like and also am concerned about with Jackson Dart is that I think during game days, he's going to throw caution to the wind and say, I don't care if my hamstring's bothering me. If this lane is open, I'm running and I'm not going to worry about it. Same thing with the hits. So again, I like the aggressiveness. I just am a little concerned that it's going to be detrimental in the long run for him. So I just hope that as time goes on, it's been 1 game, but as time goes on and he learns and develops and grows, that he will figure out, where is the right spot to take a hit versus when he needs to get down or try to get out of bounds, and running versus like aggravating the hamstring and things like that. So we'll see. Next up, I want to talk through wide receivers. The good news about this list is there's not a single wide receiver on the injury list, which is great because both Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton have been on and off the injury report for the last couple of weeks with either, it was like a groin or a calf or an ankle, depending on which one of them. So the good news is they're healthy, ready to go. No designation on the injury report. Let's knock on wood and hope that stays for the rest of the week, because the Giants did not bring in a single wide receiver for a workout. Now, I'm in the camp that is at the point where I'm like, just bring in OBJ. Who cares at this point, right? Like, the reality is he's battling it out with Jalen Hyatt and Bo Collins for snaps. Come on, just bring him in. It'll be fun. Like, honestly, what bad could it do at this point, realistically? So I would like to see them do that. I think if they haven't done it yet, listen, time will tell. They could still do it at some point. I just kind of wish they did already, but we'll see what happens. OBJ did call MetLife Death Life, so I don't know if that affected their decision at all. But honestly, I'm on board. I am so on board with Odell and also with him calling it Death Life because, he's not wrong. So I'm with Odell on this one. But anyway, this is what I think is going to happen is Wan'Dale Robinson is obviously going to be the slot guy. We might see a little bit of Gunnar Olszewski in there if they move Wan'Dale to the outside, which they might do because we have seen Wan'Dale run some posts and some long routes for him to be the deep ball catcher in the end zone. So don't be surprised if we see some of that on Sunday. Darius Slayton is obviously going to get the most amount of reps, I think, on the outside. I'm curious to see if they move Darius around at all. They might. I think I'm more confident that they will move Wan'Dale more than they will Slayton based on just what we've seen throughout the summer and through the regular season so far. With that being said, that third wide receiver, I think it's going to start with Beau Collins, and I think we're going to see a lot of Beau Collins, and I think if he has some bad drops or issues or things like that, that's when we're going to see Jalin Hyatt in the rotation. Now, Ihmir Smith-Marsette and Lil Jordan Humphrey are both on the practice squad. Now, I think it's more likely that we see a Lil Jordan Humphrey, what's the word that I'm looking for? Elevation on Sunday than anyone else, or Saturday. But I think expect to see Lil Jordan Humphrey out there. And, the biggest reason, aside from the fact that he's one of the bigger wide receivers who's on the practice squad, is he spent a lot of time playing with Jackson Dart this summer and throughout the preseason. So he is going to be someone that if they elevate him, Jackson Dart is going to feel comfortable getting the ball in his hands because he caught a couple touchdowns throughout preseason. And again, they worked very well together throughout the summer. So out of everyone, it's most likely that Lil Jordan Humphrey is going to be thrown into the mix. Will he get more snaps than Jalin Hyatt? I think that's absolutely a possibility, but we'll see as time goes on. Lastly, I want to, or not necessarily lastly here, but I want to go through some Giants players to pick up on waivers, because if you're a fantasy football fan like I am, my team is struggling and I need any help that I can get. But if there's ever a week, I think, to pick up a Giants player and start them, it's this week. When you look at the Giants' schedule, this is a game that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They need to, and they should win this game. The fact that Vegas moved them from the favorite to the underdog is insane to me, which we're going to talk through in a minute. But the reality is the Giants team is better. They have much better players and more talent on this team than the Saints do. They have a little bit better of a record, but ultimately they've been playing better football as a whole, kind of, than I think the Saints have. And there's just no reason for the Giants not to win this game. So if you're going to pick up anyone, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, if Cameron Scatterby was still available, I would absolutely pick him up. He's obviously now the starting running back moving forward until Tracy comes back. And even when Tracy comes back, it might be still more of a 70-30 roll or 60-40 for a little bit until who knows when. But I think those might be some good options. I would throw Daniel Bellinger into the mix now. I don't know how many targets he's going to get on Sunday. He only had one target, but he went 1 for 1 for 13 yards, and it was a big third down conversion for Bellinger and for the Giants. So I'm very curious if now, again, knowing that Neighbors is out, that they really have to focus on spreading the ball around. Why would you not get your tight ends involved? This is the perfect opportunity for you to give Daniel Bellinger more snaps. He's well over 6 feet tall. He's got long arms. He's a good pass catcher. He's a better pass catcher than Theo Johnson. And if you don't trust Theo or you want to use Theo as a blocker, use Belly as a pass catcher. So again, I don't know if the Giants are going to do this. It could be a risky move for fantasy, but I think that if he gets more snaps this week, it's absolutely going to pay off and he's going to have more targets and more receptions. But if you want to go the safer route, I would pick up Theo Johnson if he's available. If you want to go the safest route, I would pick up Darren Waller, former New York Giant. That's right. Because in one game, his only game so far with the Miami Dolphins, he had 2 touchdowns, which is double the amount of touchdowns that he had in an entire season with the New York Giants. So I picked him up. I dropped David Njoku, and guess what? This is who I'm starting. I'm starting Darren Waller. So don't let me down, Waller. You did it when you were on the Giants. I'm rooting for you on the Dolphins now, because aside from the fact that I want him to help me win in my fantasy league, obviously, the better that Darren Waller's and the Dolphins play, the better the Giants draft pick is that they got in return for trading Darren Waller to the Dolphins. So we need them to do well a little bit here. Lastly, I want to talk through some over-unders. Like I said, I still cannot get over the fact here that the Giants went from being the favorite to the underdog. Now, it's only a 1.5 point swing on all, or at least from FanDuel and, DraftKings that I've seen so far. But I just can't understand what changed about that outside of neighbors, right? That's it. Like, if you look up the Giants versus the Saints overall, the Giants are the better team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Statistically, they're a little closely matched in each broken down stat of like rushing defense, rushing offense, things like that. But overall, the Giants are a mostly higher ranked and better team. And I just think if you look at this pass rush versus Spencer Rattler, like, we're going to win that battle, you know? So I don't know, it's very interesting to me. But I was just looking at stats, and he is averaging around 45 rushing yards per game. Now, that includes game 1 where he only had 2 touches and ran for -3 yards. So obviously that's the outlier in the grand scheme of Scat's career so far. So I think, they don't have the over-unders out yet. I think it's probably going to be around 45 or 50 yards for Scat, and I am taking the over on that because there's no doubt in my mind that they are going to try and run the ball again like they did last week and run all over the Saints defense, who have not been great against the run. So I'm taking the over on that. I don't know what Wandale's stats are going to be again. I think he's probably going to be around like 40 to 50 yards. And again, I'm taking the over with him because I just think that he is going to be a massive target for Wandale Robinson, for Jackson Dart and this Giants team this Sunday. So those are the ones I probably feel the most comfortable with until I actually see what the lines are. But the anytime touchdown scorers, this is who they have right now. So Alvin Kamara, they have -115. Scat is -110. Jackson Dart +145. And Olave is +195. Now, and Wan'Dale, they have +230. So I think Olave and Alvin Kamara and Scat are all probably the safest bets out of this group. I think if you look at anyone who's bound to score this weekend, it's probably all 3, if not 2 out of those 3 guys, because I think both teams are really going to try and focus on running the ball, knowing that their opposing defense is not the best at stopping the run. So that's it for the over-unders. We can talk through a little bit more on Friday, if when those numbers come out. But in the meantime, we're waiting to see if there are any more roster moves, changes for the Giants before they take on the Saints on Sunday. So make sure you subscribe for more.